Water. We look right through it and take for granted that there will always be water. We give it not much more thought than just a simple turn of the tap. But as we travel on this river of life and rest upon its shores, we look to the sky watching, while beneath our feet our future lies, waiting for someone to take responsibility as they go once more to the well. This community service message brought to you by
All the hits with another 3 strong ones in a row coming up. 4 degrees out there, not looking so bad for the weekend with only a slight chance of some snow activity. Stay with us because later on we go deep into the subject of water wells. CMOW time, 11:32.
So you think your well has gone dry. All you know is that you don't have any water. With no water, all you can think about is how important it is to get it back on again, and how much it could cost you. But at this moment, you don't know what the problem is. You've already checked the breakers. The pump is working. Maybe it's the well itself. The aquifer could be dry. And the first thing you do is look around you for some reason. Could your neighbor be using too much water for his livestock? Oh, there is that new outfit that came here a little while ago. There's also that new town well not far from here. You think that companies and towns always use too much water. The fact is, you don't know why you don't have any water. The real reason lies deep in the ground, and perhaps far back in the past. It is times like this that knowing how your well was constructed becomes very important. While the contractor was drilling your well, he kept very accurate notes, which included a record of the material he was drilling through. First, there were some unconsolidated sediments consisting of clay, silts, and sands. In fact, the contractor drilled through a gravel layer that may have been a suitable aquifer, but was not used, as the groundwater would have been hard and high in iron. That would make washing clothes difficult and would stain the plumbing fixtures if the water wasn't treated first. Below the unconsolidated sediments was the bedrock. This bedrock was made up of shale, coal, and sandstone layers. Then, at a depth of 45.5 meters, the driller encountered a sandstone layer that was porous and permeable and produced water. This he referred to as the aquifer. A water well is drilled into an aquifer, and an aquifer can be linked to many other sources. Professor Carl Mendoza explains.
If we think about Alberta, and we start at the land surface, at the surface and proceeding sort of downwards from the land surface, we cross through a series of layered, in many cases, unconsolidated deposits, which consist of things like gravels and sands and clays and silts, which you can find if you go around in hill slopes and excavations around the province. As you move further into the earth, you will start moving into rocks and what are called consolidated deposits. Rocks are material that has been compressed together and is sort of one cohesive unit, except that it's divided into different types of rock, which in many cases, particularly in Alberta, originated as unconsolidated deposits. We have things like sandstone, which was derived originally from sand, and we have shales, which are derived from, have similar properties to clays. The sandstones would act as aquifers in many cases, where they have significant or fairly large porosity, so they can contain a large amount of water. And they have relatively high hydraulic conductivity, so they can transmit water fairly readily through the subsurface. The shales or the clays are commonly referred to as aquitards, which do not transmit water very readily, and the water will still move through those different pieces of rock or unconsolidated sediment, but it moves very, very slowly. It takes a long period of time for the water to move from the land surface downwards through these layers of different types of material until it finally gets to the aquifer that we're quite often interested in producing for a water supply well.
Once the water well driller identified the main aquifer, the hole was reamed to a depth that corresponded to just above the main aquifer. After reaming, the surface casing was set with a watertight seal. The final completion of the well involved the installation of the liner. Now you're equipped with a good understanding of how a water well works for you and your neighbors. Choosing a drilling contractor is important, and there are lots of choices. Which drilling contractor, then, is the one to choose?
Well, I would look in the yellow pages for a driller in the area that you're interested in having well drilled. Make sure that he is a certified driller and that his rig is licensed with the Environment Division of our government would be the main thing. Then reputation, of course. You could, word of mouth advertising is probably as honest a way of finding a reputable driller as anything else. Okay, I pull into the yard, find out what the person wants in terms of water quality. Generally, the better quality of water is available, but you have to case off the upper aquifers that have the worst water in them, that's not fit for consumption. Drill the test hole down, find out where these aquifers are, and then when you complete the well, you ream the hole out, set your casing, make sure it's sealed, and then you do your production tests and quality test, perforate the liner, drop it inside, tear out the rig, and move.
Before the well was ready for use, the contractor ran a test to determine how much water could be pumped from the well. Before he started the pump, he measured the depth to the water level from the top of the casing. This depth is referred to as the non-pumping water level or static water level. Just after the pump was turned on, he measured the lowering water level as water was pumped from the well. Over the duration of the next 2 hours, he took measurements of both the water level and the pumping rate. By frequently measuring the pumping rate, the contractor ensured it remained constant. Finally, when the pump was shut off, he again measured the water level as it rose, and for the next 2 hours after the pump was stopped. All of this information was noted in the driller's report. The driller's report shows water levels before the start of pumping and at the end of pumping. It also shows how the water level changed during pumping and after the pump was shut off. All of the information recorded by the water well driller is often maintained in a central filing system. In Alberta, groundwater belongs to the provincial government, and the records are maintained by a government agency. Access to these records are available to private companies, since the information is public. When drilling a well, it's very important to know about the surrounding water wells, what aquifers are present, the well depths, and chemical quality of the groundwater. One way to begin is to ask your neighbor. But take heed that your neighbor's information may not always be accurate. Your neighbor might not